Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary Chats with Presifundent and T-Rex. I'm T-Rex, and we're about to call Presifundent.
Hello, citizen. How are you?
How's it going, sucker?
Great. I won that court case for that false restraining order. Dismissed with prejudice, bitches.
Yeah, that's. I'm not saying that it's crazy that happened. It's just crazy with all the build-up behind it that it was just like it's over now. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. The abuse, but I mean, the dude had a major leg up. He silenced me right away, and he was able to, propagandize because, this dude has some military experience in the intelligence community. So, and that'd be a common tactic of theirs is propaganda, right? So he's already manipulated a lot of people against me, but trying to silence me and shut me up, like you're going to do me wrong and you're going to do it in silence. I ain't having that, and neither is the court.
Yeah, that photo of the stack of paperwork or whatever.
Oh my god!
Reconnaissance info or what the fuck that is. I mean, Jesus, that's a lot of fucking
he
info.
cried in court. He cried in court. He literally mustered up tears, and I said that shit in mediation too. I'm like, oh, he'll probably try crying, and he actually did, and he said that he's never seen a threat like me before.
Holy fuck!
You worked 20. Yeah, you worked 20 years in the military, dude, and you've never seen a threat like me before? What the fuck are you fucking talking about, you fucking lunatic?
Yeah, I don't think he's had combat experience, maybe just recon or something, or maybe media or something, because that's silly. My stepdad was a fucking Vietnam War vet, and he told me stories that would give you nightmares, and you know what I mean? It's fucking...
I don't remember stories that my grandfather used to tell me. I know he used to tell me stories about his time in World War II.
Right.
But I really don't remember them.
Yeah.
My family probably remember better.
I'm pretty sure you far different. You're a little different than someone coming at you with a bayonet or fucking throwing a sticky grenade or,
I want to run for president of the United States. I'm very dangerous. I go around, doing my president shit, which is, threatening. I don't know. I mean, I know it's personally threatening to him because he did me wrong. He fucking lied to ban me, and then he tried to silence me, and then I'm like, nah, I'm not having it. I'm going to protest, and some people are going to hear my side, and then to stop his protest, and it was a risk. It was a very big risk, because if he lost, then that just really makes him look like a bigger douchebag. Like if he had a legit case, it would be... chances are if he had a legit case, the charges or the needing a restraining order against me would have stuck.
Right, exactly.
But he doesn't have a legit case. And like him crying, him bringing in, he brought in all my tweets and blogs of me shit talking him, and it's it felt like I was in a defamation suit hearing, but we were having a hearing over the restraining order, and all I provided the court was the 10 pages of the transcripts, I had to print that up 3 times, so 30 pages, but that one stack he had 3 of those stacks. So because he gave the court one, and just kind of insane. It's man, and you're saying that I'm stalking you? Yeah. I'm which I'm not. I'm just going to protest. But you're saying that I'm stalking you, yet you have 2.5 inches worth of paperwork on me.
Yeah, I'm sure they recognize that when, going through all the information and his side and your side and all that, and then noticing well, if you're the threat, then why are you the one just going with the flow, and he's got all this fucking shit stacked up against you, you know what I'm saying? It's
oh man, he brought up that misdemeanor charge, in the horror story when I was talking about, the beginning of my, I want to run for president, and I got sent to jail for the untrue hearsay that I shook my fist at my grandmother, and because of stupid mistakes by me that I did, the charge stuck. But it was the lowest misdemeanor Illinois has to offer. And
Which is what, a verbal threat or something?
Well, because like I shook my fists, I scared her or whatever, but I like didn't do that. But
well, I'm saying the charge is something like basically equal to a verbal threat or a violent, not
like
violent
domestic
threat.
violence.
Yeah, something like that, but not an actual physical violence or whatever.
No. Yeah, it was just like if you were to believe, the case, then it was just a verbal, thing. But there's that physical action of mine, and I've never shook my fist more in my life now, because now when I tell the story, even now
you got to recreate that
audio.
Your movement to
I'm
show.
Holding on my fist. I'm holding on my fist here. Here's the untrue hearsay that I shook my fist at somebody. I'm doing the hand gesture. And
there's literal memes of that shit all over the internet of like little kids all the way up to old fucking people doing that. Oh, fucking dick, you little bastard. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
it's like
my mom manipulated that situation. Like, it wasn't really my grandmother's fault. Although I kind of felt sour about it, but it was a lot of people manipulating my grandmother, which elderly abuse is fine when you're doing it to, fuck me.
Hey, let's backtrack real quick before we get too far, because people may not know what you're talking about. So the instance you're talking about is when you're saying to your grandmother, if I remember correctly, is look at you were pointing at your collarbone or shoulder or something. Yeah, and so
I pulled the collar of my shirt.
Yeah, it's a similar movement of that. I'll fucking get you, shaking your fist at somebody type of thing from a different angle. From some angle, someone may perceive it that way, right?
Yeah, well, she wasn't doing well too. Like, she was kind of sick that day that I had my outburst, and I did yell at her, which I apologized for a few minutes afterwards. And I was out of line, my mom just kind of, me and my other family were feuding because they were just taking so much money from my grandma and to pay for these storage units, and I was trying to get her, to stand up to it, anyway, it was manipulated against me. I got this weird charge where I got thrown in jail, and just to get out of jail, I was going to plead guilty just to get out of jail, and within 30 days I was going to change my plea, because in Illinois you could do that. And I couldn't remember within that 30 days. I remembered shortly thereafter, whether it was 5 or 10 days later, after the fact, and my mind was really being fucked with. Like, they on top of the trauma that I was going through, which just naturally fucks up people's minds.
Yeah.
The Resperdal that they put me on. They put me on this antipsychotic. I'm like drooling. I can't think. I can't dance. I can't do anything except sleep and be drowsy.
Yeah, you feel like a damn zombie where you just can't even think or really do anything. No new ideas type shit.
Taking Ritalin beforehand, and I got on an antidepressant, and I'm feeling good. And it was just a complete 180 of what I was doing, working out. I quit smoking. I've done these things around this time, and I'm making improvements in my life, and I just got train wrecked, and it was really horrific and traumatic, and I still have issues from it, it wasn't fun. But so just speaking on that one charge, the judge, to jump back to how we got on this, the judge asked him, he's like, was it a misdemeanor or a felony? And because he was like, a felony is actually something you could use, but a misdemeanor isn't something you could use, essentially is what he said.
Yeah, because
the guy was like,
if it were a violent crime, it would have been a felony, and if it's just, vague threats or yelling at someone and out in the yard or something, then yeah, it's like you didn't go through with the action and become a violent criminal. That's the difference.
Well, I mean, according to Voodoo Leatherworks, I'm a violent person.
Well, I'm saying the level of misdemeanor to felony charge is basically like you say you're going to do something as opposed to you actually did something violent. You know what I mean? Because threats can be scary. If I yell at my neighbor, I'll fucking beat your ass if you step in my yard, that to him is probably very violent and threatening, but technically I didn't really do anything. But if I ran over there and beat his ass for stepping in my yard, then, then that's a whole different fucking thing, so.
Yeah. But anyway. So, he was asked by the court, was it a misdemeanor or felony? And being the one of the military guys, in intelligence for 20 years, he couldn't explain that. He's like, he couldn't provide that information, whether it was a misdemeanor or felony. And I was just like, I was going to go make a comment about it, just be honest and everything. Well, yeah, it was a traumatic experience where I have like this fake record now. And it was so unfair. Like the details of that just like go way beyond what we just talked about a few minutes ago. Because a few months later, I saved my grandmother's life. But a month before, I opted out of a blood test. And this culminated in I saved my grandmother's life December of 2012. I had that initial knee-jerk shitty reaction of fuck this bitch. I'm not going to check up on her because, I have this, I'm feeling sour about having this false record, but it really wasn't her fault. So I'm I came to my senses and I checked on her, saved her life. And then a week later, I have a court date and they sent me off to jail for not getting the blood test that I, opted out of. And I'm making it clear to the courts. I'm like, look, you guys got this wrong. This mental health evaluation is wrong. There's clear errors in here. And anyway, and then I did a couple weeks in Cook County, just after saving my grandmother's life. And it was just weird because in my mind, it's connected. And I know they're separate, but I wasn't warned about the blood test. I was just like, no, thanks. I'm not going to do the blood test. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to let the court know that you're opting out of this blood test and, you could be in violation. There was nothing like that, so otherwise I would have taken the blood test. Well, but anyway.
One thing about that is they don't always make it clear exactly what you have to do, and you're kind of expected to know how the court system works as if that's a part of your daily life or something, and that's literally their job. And all they got to do, all they got to do is say, "Hey, just a heads up, so if you do skip out on this, then shit may happen. There may be consequences." And then then you're like, "Oh, well, maybe I should do it, or maybe I don't want to fucking do it now because of that, or whatever." Whoever you are, however you are, But anyway,
yeah, and she happens to fall and break her hip during that time. I'm pretty sure it was that time where she had broken her hip. It was either then or a couple months later because I spent the Christmas and New Year's of 2012 into 2013 in Cook County Jail. And I got up at 2 a.m. and I remember getting picked up by my mom and her boyfriend that were going to later attack me. And then I get February, I get sent away for 10 days against my will because I want to run for president. And I didn't want to harm other people or harm myself. And I recorded this conversation. I still have the recording, but I'm just saving it for, more friendly people or people that are at least objective, that could listen to it. Because it's look, I know I'm a little weird and awkward, socially awkward and quirky and everything, but none of that shit was shit to send me away for. So I felt kidnapped for 10 days and I'm just going through all this fucking trauma. It's why the hell am I getting all this help for just wanting to run for president? Oh my God. It's I live in the Twilight Zone. And then a few months later, my family attacks me. And then the court is well, you didn't get the mental health evaluation that you got. So we're going to send you to jail and then time serve you afterwards. After my family attacks me. And it was just... And then when I was at jail there, they didn't give me a chance to defend myself like I was able to this time from that order of protection because my family attacked me and then issued an order of protection against me. And it's what the hell? And then I wasn't able to go to the same courtroom, the same judge. The Cook County Jail didn't send me to that. So then an automatic 2-year order of protection went into place. But you guys locked me up. I would have showed up to court if you guys took me, but you didn't take me. That is so unfair.
Yeah.
And then, there was a little bit worse stuff dealing with homelessness after that and the struggles of that. But that's kind of just that one charge, the one, hey, I want to run for president. And it's one straight year of hell. And it's totally not what I thought that I would be getting when I rose my hand up, and was hey, I'll make some sacrifices and do this shit just so the people could have a good option. It was from the atheist experience to my family And now this fucking sex club, and I know I'm not like a perfect person and I make mistakes, but it just really seems like, you know, I get a little bit more hate than usual for whatever reasons. You know, I'm just in the wrong place at the right time or whatever. I don't know.
See, to get the presidency from and being in Illinois, you have to be offered like a Senate seat by the governor type shit.
Oh, Rob the boy, bitch.
You know, you can't just fucking say, "Hey, I want to be a president," like they tell you when you're a kid. You can if you want to be a president when you're older, you could just decide that's what you want to do. No, you have to grow up in a rich household, become a lawyer, fucking do some young Republican bullshit, and then, you know, whatever.
Transition to the Democrats,
right,
or whatever,
you know,
and then buy a seat, you know, because you could afford six figures or whatever.
Right. So, you know, that's just how it has to be in Illinois, or probably most other states in a similar manner.
Yeah. Well, it just explains, like, I didn't know his, like, military background and all that stuff and what he did, and he explained a little bit in court, and it sort of made sense, because the day after that I got this shit served to me, like, he served it on the 23rd of November, so on the 24th of November, and it was a really cold day, but I went down to the courthouse, and I had a little sign that said, "Please help me with the defamation suit," because, like, this guy is saying that I'm violent, that I'm stalking, you know, mentioning some shit about my mom that he don't fucking know, like, because he tried digging up stuff about my past, you know, to invalidate what they're doing to me now, you know, which is another, like, CIA little tactic, you know, we bomb innocent civilians, but hey, there was a bad guy there, and those kids, they were going to grow up to carry bombs anyway, so, you know, are we really sad about the kids' death too, you know, and that's how they do them wrong, you know, they're like, oh, well, shit, we bombed a bunch of innocent civilians, and then they smear them. They're like, oh, well, you know, they were bad people anyway, we're still good. And that's like exactly what happened to me, but on a much smaller scale, not like war or anything, or propaganda, you know, like the war propaganda.
Right, like you said, same idea, different scale, but yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, and that's the risk that the guy took, you know, is, you know, he would have been able to silence me pretty much forever, you know, because that's what he really wants, is me to be, you know, silenced about this. And I understand his personal feelings, and he feels upset, and maybe his feeling, you know, threatened over his business or something. Like, he treated, you know, someone, you know, pretty much a complete stranger like shit, and that stranger has a fucking, you know, loud ass voice. You know, but maybe you should not have acted like such a dick in the first place, and maybe not made up stuff. Like, I still don't have an explanation, and that's my fault.
What?
I wasn't 100% at court, but they haven't explained to me how I make fun of sexual assault victims. Like, what was the scenario? Could you remember a little bit of, you know, instead of this vague ass "I make fun of sexual assault victims" bullshit that you made up? You know, like, and that's what I'm upset about. That's what I initially was upset about. And then this guy did this malicious restraining order, this false restraining order, to silence me. And then he tried jailing me a few times. Like, you talk about abuse. Like, I don't know, like, if that isn't abusive, I don't know what the fuck abuse is then. Maybe it's just only sexual abuse that they care about at this fucking sex club, Voodoo Leatherworks in Colorado Springs, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Well, to get back to what you started with at the beginning of this part, what I can't remember what that is, the Streisand effect, where something isn't really an issue until you point it out, and then then everybody's looking at it and scrutinizing it, and then, you know, then it becomes a big thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what he did.
Oh man!
But then it backfired.
Well, yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, he did it like to kind of silence me, you know, and then I'm not having that. I'm like, no, I'm going to be heard, you know. But he's had 2 months and a couple weeks so far to kind of, you know, bias everybody, to do his little propaganda. Watch out for this guy. This guy's really dangerous, you know, and all sorts of shit, you know. Like, I don't know. I just, I mean, it's good practice, though, because I'm going to experience these things on a grander scale if I ever get any traction. So when I first said that, like, in our first message, like, at the end of it, I'm like, You're just going to be practiced. Like, I meant it. You know, like.
So I thought of something here, I don't know, probably the day before yesterday or something. I was like, someone was talking about Joe Biden and how he's been in politics for like damn near 50 years. And I was like, well, it's no wonder you're having such a hard time, you know, with people just kind of just understanding the idea of wanting to do that. Because when we're kids, it's like, oh yeah, that'd be cool to be president. And then we grow up and see how politics and the world works. And like, I'd never want to do that. Anybody that wants to do that must be out of their fucking mind, you know? But
oh man, dude.
But then you say that and it's like, oh, well, there's guys that have been doing this for 50 years that are just now getting in. Yeah, but what about Trump? He's a fucking actor and a fucking lucky dude that had a father who made some money and gave him a gigantic fucking loan, and he rolled on that and lost tons of fucking money. But that guy can be president. But and then we get, you know, guys that have, you know, helped create bills that literally destroy America, and then we elect them to president. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
well, I mean, we gotta elect them, otherwise the other person is going to be worse. You know, so you know, so you gotta you know, swallow this other shit pill here. You know, and it's.
Someone was saying,
those are your options, America.
Someone was saying somewhere, I can't remember if it was Twitter or Instagram, maybe it was one of the comedians I follow on Instagram, and it was like, I'm just paraphrasing, it was basically to the point of, I'm fucking sick of 80-year-old fucking men running the country when we're, you know, they're so fucking old that the shit that they grew up and dealt with and have accumulated throughout their lifetime doesn't even matter or affect, or it isn't affected by modern society, and it's like old school fucking bullshit. A lot of it's racist and homophobic, you know, at its core. Maybe not outright
misogynistic, probably too, you
know?
Yeah,
and probably misogynistic in a lot of ways, but a little bit inconspicuously hidden in their other fucking bullshit. But why can't we have, what is the lower limit on president? 35? Why can't we elect someone who's 35, 40? You know what I'm saying? That, maybe they don't have the same wisdom as someone who's 80, but they have their cognitive ability and reaction time and can walk upstairs and, you know, can remember what they said 3 sentences ago and don't contradict themselves. And, you know, Obama was about the closest thing we had to that. Maybe Bush, but Bush Jr., because he was the younger one. But I'm just saying, even though he was either he was stupid and didn't know any better, or he was playing a part to be stupid. I don't know, but however it went, I was just saying, someone in that more closer to not fucking decrepit old geriatric fucking falling apart, senile. I'm trying to think of all the words that go along with people who are demented. You know what I mean? Like, all these things, you could point at either of our last 2 presidents and be like, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Maybe not as bad in Trump, because he seems to be somewhat more with it, but at the same time, you can tell, like, his cognitive ability in the last, you know, if you've seen his TV shows or interviews, you can see the cognitive decline over those years, you know. And I'm sure it's the same for Biden, obviously, because you see him doing the old person reset here and there, and then, like, having his outbursts and fucking why moments and shit.
He doesn't even fight for the stuff that he said he would fight for. Like, he talked about a public option and curing cancer, like, during the campaign,
right?
You know, and then, like, none of that shit is, like, you know, like being talked about. You know, the Democrats are shiving.
Well, even if it's mentioned,
do single payer in California.
If it's mentioned, it gets swept under the rug. Oh, we don't have time to talk about that. There's more important things. What do you mean? We've been talking about COVID for 2 years straight, and we're in the middle of it.
Portfolio is more important.
Yeah. we don't have people like dying by the wayside who could use Medicare for all to save their fucking lives. Meanwhile, we got people who are afraid to go to the hospital because they know they can't fucking afford it. And if they do, if they go to the hospital during work hours, they're missing out on precious money they need to fucking survive. And if they go to the hospital and they say, oh, well, you can't go back to work for 5 days or a week or two, then they're totally missing out. They may lose every fucking thing they have. They may get kicked out of their house or apartment, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like this domino effect that they don't even realize that's going on. UBI would
they like
help
keep
out.
People in the perpetual struggle.
Someone mentioned, well, we can't do UBI because it's just giving money out to people who may not need it. Well, why don't we structure it where everybody it's goes automatically to you, but you have to sign up and say, hey, I already have a job and I make 25 grand a year. Oh, well, you could use $300 extra a month, and they send you $300, and now you're making 30 grand a year or something, whatever it comes out to be, so it kind of helps you. And then someone who's making
shouldn't even be part of the argument.
Well,
I'm just give it that leverage.
I'm just saying, just for that side of the argument is, say someone who makes 15 grand, then they get $1,000 a month, and someone who's disabled who can't really make money, they get whatever it might be that they need to take care of them. You know what I'm saying? And then whoever just doesn't need it, say over like 50 grand or something, 60 grand, something like that, whatever it is, then they don't need it, so they're not even involved in it, something like, I don't know, some kind of scaled shit. But, just to...
progressive scale.
Well, I'm just saying, just to soften that blow of, well, you're just going to give fucking $2 grand to everyone? Well, then that's stupid, because then you're giving shit to, people who are wealthy or millionaires or even billionaires. That's dumb. Well, I see that. That makes sense.
Let's see what the results are.
Well,
let's see what the results are. Let's just do it and see what the results are. And see if we could actually make an argument that it was bad to give someone that makes $60,000 a year.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I want to give everybody $2 grand a year or $2 grand a month or whatever. But I'm just saying, to play devil's advocate for the people arguing against it, or my thoughts would be, well, why not we just do it where people who need it the most get the most, and people who need it the least get the least. And if you don't need it, you don't. That would solve some of those issues, I think. But you're right. It should just go to everybody, especially in our situation right now. And if we don't need it, if we don't need it in a short couple of years, then whatever. Then we don't need it anymore because we got everything back on track or whatever the fuck, and then maybe we can scale back to people who need it, or whatever. But yeah,
the difference between the...
I'm sorry. I was just going to finish with, it's like...
You're all right.
It's like they just don't want to try to fix the issues. It's easier just to not try one way or the other. That's all I was getting at. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, it's the difference between the haves and the have-nots, and that gap is getting larger and larger. And eventually, in order to keep their heads on their shoulders is, I'm sure, a thought that they would have quite frequently, because they would allow, things are getting so bad that if things get bad enough, they are going to oh yeah, $2,000 a month, everybody, this is a really good idea, let's do this, because in order to protect their own asses, because when there's so many people in the streets and homeless and miserable for so long, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse over time, eventually, and then the working class has less property and less ownership and less rights, and the wealthy are taking everything. Eventually, that's a house of cards, and it's going to collapse. And and in order to prevent it from collapsing, right before the breaking point, I'm sure they have all these ex-military intelligence people working for them with, stacks of paperwork and shit. But whenever that is, which we're not to that point yet, but whenever they start fearing that these mobs are going to come after them and that their security teams aren't going to be enough, then they're going to be like, oh, $2,000 UBI sounds really, really good. But it doesn't need to get to that point because that involves a lot more suffering. And we could, this is America, man. And being an American citizen, you're awarded certain privileges. And whether you think people are deserving or not, I think I kind of like your idea. Just like, let's just give everybody $2,000, and just, even the millionaires, we could use that shit to make fun of them. It's like, you applied for this $2,000.
We could make it a system where it's automatic, but you can opt out. So anybody who feels they don't need it can just kind of we could just make it like, well, you're contributing back by giving away your share. So everybody who needs it more is appreciative of it. And that would make people who really don't need it, contemplate, well, I don't need this shit. I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to be made fun of for keeping it. But then there's those people out there that will, like, imagine all those businesses that applied for, I don't know what it's called, but where the paycheck allowance thing, where basically to save their businesses when they didn't need it. They like these multi-million-dollar profiting companies. Yeah. Excuse me. And then
payment protection program.
Right. Like, and then there's mom and pop shops that couldn't get it because they had already given out hundreds of thousands to companies who make millions with only 50 employees, whereas they might have 15 employees and now they have to, lay off 5 or 6 or 8 of them. You know what I mean? Because they can't.
Well, they saw the government, cheese trough was getting full, and they came over with their buckets and they took a bunch. That is less likely to happen, I think, with giving people $2,000 a month, because there's fewer millionaires and billionaires than there are just normal people.
Well, yeah, so I was just saying that there will be some percentage that will actually still take advantage of it. And that's, to me, it's kind of a disgusting behavior. But I mean, if that's how a lot of people are, they just, it's opportunity is there, I'm going to take it. So, imagine that. But
allowing that, all right, like let's say we allow that just for the sake of argument here. Like we allow Trump and Warren Buffett and Bill Gates to get the $2,000. Well, that will be an argument, like, in the favor of different things that we might be debating. They're always like, oh, well, there's that undeserving person. He's sitting in the street doing nothing. They're not deserving, and you're going to give them money. And it's like, well, yeah, here's this rich person, but actually what happens in reality is this rich person worth billions of dollars still demands that extra $2,000 a month, because that's the reality. And these poor people,
and all that does is build them more and more wealth.
Crime is going down. There's less homeless people, and there's more people, being housed. Is another way to say it, I guess.
Right.
But those are the effects that I know that are going to happen if you give people $2,000 a month. So this boogeyman, like, oh, well, there's that undeserving person. Yeah, there is an undeserving person, but guess who it is? He's the 1%. Is that undeserving person.
You know who argues against this the most, though?
Who?
People who, like, middle class workers, lower middle class workers.
Oh, they're propagandized. So,
right, because I was a welder for 11 years, and I worked alongside people, and I literally have told them, they already take 35% of my check, with taxes and insurance and all this other shit. If we had paid medical shit like everywhere else, had a flat tax rate, maybe 10% or blah, blah, blah. I said I would be willing to give 40-50% of my check if our roads were fixed, our bridges weren't falling apart, our schools were updated, and all this shit. I would be fine with that, because then society would be better. Inflation wouldn't keep happening. Businesses would stay, in business, and the world wouldn't be going to fucking hell. And these motherfuckers be like, I'm not giving up my paycheck to somebody who ain't working or fucking putting in their fair amount. It's like, no, you don't get it. A lot of those people who need that help, like, not my mom specifically, but a lot of single moms that have multiple kids, say the dad runs off or they get divorced or whatever, however they become single moms, they still work Some of them 2-3 jobs, work 70, 80, 100 hours a fucking week just to get by with those, you know, and they're the ones that need that assistance so they can fucking not kill themselves, you know, trying to work. And not saying that's the only people out there that need that help, because I'm sure there's, you know, obviously an array of types of people, but a majority of people are people who actually need the fucking help, you know, and who are still out there trying. And obviously there's a lot of people that aren't fucking trying, but I'm just saying it shouldn't make it impossible for the people who are out there, you know, trying and whatnot. And I can't look down on anybody who's out there who's done that, because I've had to have assistance before, and I was working 2 jobs and got asked, well, you're a white guy and you're capable, so what's your issue? Why don't you have a job? And I said, lady, I have 2 40-hour jobs and I'm barely cutting it. So that's why I'm here to get help. And they offered me $14. And I kind of basically threw it in their face, like, if that's all you're going to give me, fuck off. And then my girlfriend went in there the next day and got like $500 and whatever. So we were fine. But
guilty of having a penis in the 2nd degree, it sounds like, too.
Well, I'm just saying, there's issues, and I get they're just not handing it out to anybody, but they saw, you know, she's a single mom, she needs the help. She was working a job too at the time. And I'm just saying, like, they're not just going to give anybody who's capable, you know, assistance if they don't really need it. But at the same time, it's not impossible to get it if you're willing to sit there and wait and do all that and go through all the paperwork and whatnot. But at the same time, there's a lot more that could be done. You know what I'm saying? The amount of surplus money that is just spent on military bullshit and shit that doesn't work or is never gonna fucking be, you know, never gonna have tangible shit for us should just be taken off the table, and we should start rebuilding. Like they say, let's make America great again. Let's have the best infrastructure. Let's have the best schooling system. Let's have all the best shit, and then we can say we are the, you know.
Just beyond that, make the world a better place. Like, let's stop bombing and getting up in people's business and actually give people a fair price for trading instead of just stealing their resources. Right. You know, like, we could all have a better life, and it doesn't need to be this way. It's just we're kind of conditioned to be, you know, like, oh, well, you were born on the Death Star, son, so now, you know, like, you know, we're good and everything. Alderaan, there were bad people. Sure, there were some good people on Alderaan, but there was a lot of bad people now on Alderaan, and so we had to blow the planet up, all right? So, you know, and then they get the people that they, you know, are raised on the Death Star to believe, you know, that they're the good ones. And it's like, no, we got to knock this shit off, and it's not sustainable, and it creates more suffering. It takes away from the corruption, though, and the corruption is what stuffs all these bank accounts of all sorts of people that have all sorts of relationships that, you know, and it's fine if you want to do what was Trump's thing, having your family members involved with business? What was that called?
Nepotism.
Nepotism. Yeah, sorry, I'm spacing there. So yeah. If you want to do your nepotism in some private company, fine. Like, not in government though, and corruption. Like, of course you can't trade stock. Right. Like Nancy Pelosi going on, you know, a couple months back. Yeah, like, oh yeah, we could do, you know, like, it's freedom, you know, freedom, and
not when you're the ones manipulating this shit.
And because, you know, freedom, you know, and it's like, no, it should be a sacrifice public service. It shouldn't be fucking, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that you should live in destitute either, you know, but like, it should be a sacrifice, and shit is just way out of control with so much corruption. And I know a lot of these corrupt people will fear the ending of corruption, maybe fear being prosecuted too. But, you know, it's like the arguments that I make often. It's like, dude, you got enough in the bank account. Why don't you just go fuck off somewhere? Like, I said that about Hillary not too long ago on Twitter. Like, you know, well, probably like this time last year. It's like, go away. Take your billions of dollars and fuck off. Like, can't you just leave us alone? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, recently I saw she was in the news, and they were assuming that she might be, heading out for a run at the presidency coming up, because we all know Joe Biden's, he's already said that if he gets in, he may quit out in the middle of it, and people were scared of that. And then he was like, I'm definitely not going to go for a second term. And with the way shit's going, I doubt he will anyway. So there's a good chance they're going to run her, and it might be against Trump again, which would be fucking insane for the same shit to happen again. What, 2016?
Oh yeah.
2016 part 2. 2016 part 2.
Dude, like, they don't really mind. They secretly don't mind. Like, I mean, unless it's flips or something, but like they were able to fundraise so much, and with that fundraising, it's like, oh, the trough is full. Let me take a bucket over there. Here, I'll hire my nephew, and he'll be getting paid $60,000 a year or some shit like that. And just playing with people's money and shit, and when there's a lot of money, it's easy to kind of shave, a good chunk, and it's just corrupt shit, like the core, like that's one thing I agreed with TYT. I watched them for a long time. I watched them when they looked like they were in the Wayne's World kind of studio. But the core of the problem is corruption.
Well, that's what happened with them. As you mentioned, they became who they were, talking shit about. And I mean, not only, but one of the groups that they were, against, and then they kind of became them. And that's kind of a sad fucking hypocrisy that happened to them.
That's what you take, that's what becomes of you typically after taking 25 million from the DNC people, and with strings attached. They probably signed a contract to get fucking money. So like, they like I would totally, if I was, even if I did sign something, I'd still, I don't know. I mean, I guess there could be jail involved, so maybe not. But I wouldn't have a strings attached. Like if I was going to betray some millionaire dude, be like, hey, do me this favor, and I'm like, yeah, sure, because I don't have a problem doing that, and I know this shit is public and everything. Maybe they'll know in advance. But for the maybe rich person, I will totally like you want cheaper taxes, I will take your money and fuck you off, like but the no strings attached thing. So yeah, maybe they would face like severe legal consequences if they did something different, and that's why TYT kind of persists, as they do. I'm really, kind of ashamed when I see clips of them, and especially like Jimmy Dore be ripping on them like hard, and he makes me laugh, and he does make good points. And yeah, he's a jerk off comedian in a fucking garage. All right, but he's still making good points. It doesn't matter if he's a lawyer dude or a jerk off comedian. He's just quoting you guys, almost essentially what I'm doing with this whole fucking the myvoodoostory.com website that I had made. I'm just like, here's what I said to people, here's what they said or did, and I'm not taking them out of context, because I was taken out of context at that sex club. So I feel really upset about that. So I am not taking people out of context at all. I'm just quoting them. And it did make me lose my FetLife account, though, because FetLife is like, oh, you're posting stuff from our site on another site. And that's in violation of our company policy. But it's still, like, fair to use. Whether, I am, like, the more serious violators, I do post a picture of. Whether that's in violation of some law or not, I do not know, but I think it's fair. Like, I had some dude pull a gun on me, and I had provided the text message that I got from his friend Corey, and so like, anyway, because he sent me like the messages and everything, and this was back in like 2015. I named him and I put a picture of him because it's like, well, the police didn't do anything about this, so I guess I'm going to post this here. This fucking asshole pulled the gun on me, and this is who he is, and that's his name. See, and that's kind of just truth.
How they get it is, or how they connect it to make it so that you're doing something not unlawful, but not by their policy is I'm sorry, I'm fucking stoned out of my mind.
It's a bully tactic.
No, fucking stoner brain every goddamn time.
Stoner brain.
So they put in their policy that you can't out anybody on the app itself, but if you would have just outed them and not mentioned the app that you got them from, you could be like, on a certain app that's made for fetishes.
Oh, dude, all you need to do.
Then you could have done it. But since you actually put it's from he's on FetLife or whatever, then that's where you violated their policy.
Yeah, I just violated it, but it's still. I think I'm covered by fair use. You know, at least for the smaller violators, their thumbnails are too small. I did have this one dude is following me around on the internet. You know, I did post a picture of him. This other dude that pulled a gun on me, post a picture of.
Well, yeah, and if someone's pulling a gun on you, then yeah. But I'm just saying, if just because someone abused you on a site, you can't put the site that you know them from. You can use the picture from the site, but but see, that's the thing. I guarantee if you look through their policy, it'll say that you can't do that. So.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure, and that's fine and everything. Like, I guess they're sort of justified, although they're kind of indirectly supporting.
I mean, it's bullshit because you should be able to point out your abusers and name and whatnot, but at the same time, that is like their legal right
that
to
is
boot
their
your
policy,
ass. So
I was a little fiery with them when I first, you know, because I was all emotional and everything, and I'm like, oh, so you guys support abusers? You know, it's like the last.
I mean, in a way, it seems like that from your perspective, and I can totally understand that. But they, you know, I doubt they have any real bias because, I mean, maybe a moderator on there, but the actual corporation themselves wouldn't have any bias.
Just so other people can know
toward anybody
I
broke the policy.
Want these blogs shared, and it's super easy to find my website. You don't need to mention the direct URL, myvoodoostory.com. All you need to do is, well, I go to Google, but probably most other search engines, just type in Voodoo Leatherworks abuse, and I am probably the first page over there. But it wasn't the blogs themselves that got me removed. It was me linking to that fucking site. So other people, and I would hate for other people to do this, and I totally, like, you know, T-Rex, if you want to make a pet life, whatever, and just repost my blogs. I do want to add a disclaimer to them before I should probably get on that after this little chit chat of ours. But the disclaimer saying, look, you could share these specifically on FetLife, because I'm sure they're happy that I'm removed and silenced off of FetLife, because when people search Voodoo Leatherworks, my shit doesn't show up anymore. But you can still put that shit up there. You just can't put the link to the website directly. But you could copy and paste my blog and just, you know, you do your own little disclaimer in the beginning, like a sentence or two or three in italics or whatever, however you want to do it. And just like, yeah, I'm copying and pasting this, you know, because I feel it's important, or whatever you have to say. Or look at this douchebag. He's a fucking douchebag and an asshole, and here's why, or whatever. Or don't even put why, just assert it. You know, but feel free to share the blogs, because yeah, the loss of my fat life isn't really that big of a loss. You know, it's you know, empty inboxes like all the time. You know, it's like I notice like when a woman posts on the fetish website, she'll post in like a group like, hey, I'm just, you know, looking for some fun, and there's like 30 responses, you know, within like 2 hours, you know, and it's like the exact opposite for me. I'm sure there's some player guys out there that are really attractive. That, I mean, I've known some. I've known that dude that threw my cat across the room. I think I may have told you about that. Or this guy was trying to get in a fight with me.
It seems familiar, but my girlfriend threw one of our cats because he peed on the bed. He looked at her and just started peeing it because he was pissed off at her. So he pissed on her bed. So she threw his ass off the bed.
That's fucked up to go after someone's pet like that. Like, what does the fucking pet do? Like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But the dude was trying to get into a fight, like a physical fight with me, and all I could do is kind of just hold my cat.
That motherfucker would have threw my cat out and stabbed his ass. That's all I'm saying.
I wanted to, but I'm not an enforcer, man. I'm a weak dude. I'm a weak, scrawny dude. Oh yeah, the dude mentioned at court, like he showed some security camera footage, and he's like, yeah, this person showed up and was like, scared in their car. Like I thought they were just waiting for other people to like open the door or something like that, And they were like, yeah, they were too scared. They had to wait for their boyfriend to like, show up because there's this skinny fucking fuck across the street that's dressed in black, and he has a few signs. It's like, give me a break. Are you guys the biggest pussies ever or what? So what the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, even to say that now, like maybe then, like, but to say that, I don't know. I just kind of blows my mind, the shit at court. And I wasn't at 100%. I really wanted to ask him and to hammer on the point. Like, this whole thing started because you say that I make fun of sexual assault victims and use that to ban me. But, like, what the hell was the scenario? Could you explain some details? Give me something.
Yeah, I never understand that about court cases. It's always supposed to be so strict and about one specific thing, but it always comes out to like some other dumb bullshit. And that's why that case was dropped, because they couldn't really hold anything to you. But you're still banned from there, so it doesn't help you out any, you just wasted your wasted your time. But yeah, you didn't win anything out of it, so it's just fucking stupid. That judge should have basically made it, oh, well, you have to kind of let him around unless he's doing something that literally breaks the rules, and he can go talk shit about you all he wants, because I wouldn't try. Oh man, I'm not saying that you should or that it would be safe for you. I'm just saying that my judgment would have been like, you know what, if he really wanted to come to your place, not that he would probably feel safe or comfortable there, but if you wanted to come there, you should be able to, because you didn't really do anything wrong that they can prove anyway. But at the same time, the judge probably knows it's better to just keep you guys separated in case they come up with some other shit, because if dude's got military background, he may have some military connections, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you never know. Yeah, definitely.
And military people sometimes are... Actually, I'm not going to say sometimes. Most military people are straight up out of their fucking minds, whether they've been to war or not. Because firstly, you have just to go, I want to be in the military, is a kind of a fucking big, huge decision. And I tried to make that decision as a kid, and thankfully I fucking fucked up and I dropped out and didn't get my GED in time, so... dodge that fucking bullet. Well, that was
the bullet dodge, probably,
Yeah. So, but like everybody that I know that's been in the military they are capable, but they're all fucked up. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them are overly capable in the shit that they do because they learned a great skill and they honed that skill. But a lot of them that's all they got, and they're fucked up. Like beyond that, they just can't function like in society. Well, I know what he was doing.
I know he probably because let me tell you, okay, so let's talk about stalkers for a little bit, just because back in 2012, aside from the horror shit and all that stuff, when someone wants to run for president of the United States, and I was saying goofy stuff, literally designed to trigger like NSA, red flag shit. And that was the phrase. I'm sure you're familiar with it. The Mythbusters blows random stuff up with explosives, but I ain't no terrorist, and I want to win the White House. And so I'd have a few words in there that would trigger the flag, but it's really like a benign sort of sentence.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. You have interesting things happen to you, and actually. Well, to jump a little bit into it, I guess, the jail. When I went to jail that second time, I think there was someone in jail with me, because when I had gotten out of jail and I was trying to hook up with some chick, I had a really bad experience, things seemed to be going well in the chats, and then I ended up really disappointed, by the end of it, and I head over to this gas station down the road to grab some cigarettes. And there's this guy there that he's like, hey, I was in jail with you. like he didn't say it like that. I totally really forget what he was saying. But, just think about that, though, just for a quick moment here. So I was in jail with like 100 people. So that's like 1 out of 100 people. And I'm on the outskirts of Cook County in Orland Park. And I literally crossed over I-88, this interstate road, into another county so I could buy cigarettes cheaper. And it's like a mile or so away from, where I was staying. And so he bumps into me there. Like, what are the odds? There's like fucking millions of people in the Chicagoland area. And so what are the odds that I run into 1 out of the 100 people that is right there? And then he said something straight up, like he does like recon and shit like that. And maybe we could think of some good ideas in the future. And that entire interaction kind of left me a little uncomfortable and kind of like fucked in the head. Keep in mind that I went through trauma. I'm still going through trauma, and I'm being forced this medication that's like making me really fucked up. So I'm really not at 100%. And so there was that incident. There was another one
Was he your age, or was he like older?
He was around my age, and he was driving a really nice SUV, like a fucking like $60,000 car.
I don't know. I feel like maybe he might have been more of a criminal, and by recon he meant like scoping out businesses to rob. Or, I don't know. That I grew up around that type of shit, so that's why I think of that type of shit.
And they think this is really menacing of me, is like my license plate obsession. That started back in 2012 when I started having very weird license plates. Like you like the digits would go down to single digits with the weird fucking plates and everything, and in a super nice car.
It'd be like 3. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I straight up got followed around. Like, I mean, there was another one. I recorded this, at least, with audio. And I was heading to the mall, and I usually make my announcements back then like I do now, like where I'm heading. So it's like super easy for like the intel people to like keep track of me. And I had a Facebook at this time, and that's where I would say it. And before I went out to this mall, and I was just kind of grabbing some printer paper, but that's aside the point. I was like, I feel disturbance in the force. There's people following me. I can feel it, because this is my intuition, my very, honed intuition. And so I head to the mall, and this chick flags me down, like, and she's, about, like in her 40s, maybe 50s or whatever, and she flags me down for cookies. Because I would bring cookies with me, like chocolate chip cookies. And the idea behind that was just like, people ask me for gum or a cigarette or to use my phone. I might as well bring cookies with me too, so people could ask for that. And I'm just being goofy and experimenting with ideas and shit. And she flags me down, and then she was, and this made me uncomfortable too. And I'm not at 100%, and it threw me off my game a little bit. I just felt awkward and weird. Not really a threatening sense, but they definitely made their presence known. But she kept on repeating, and she laid it on thick, like thick. I could probably give you this recording. I got this link to you. You could check it out. But she's like, "You're very strong with the Force, you know that." And she was like making a bunch of Force references because I had just made them a short while ago, whether it was a few hours or a few days, I don't remember. But I was making those references. So I know I was followed around in 2012, like wanting to be president. And I'm sure there's some intel on me. Like there's a file, multiple files, like a bigger file than usual on most citizens, right? So, but, the threat assessment was there is no threat because I'm not in like Guantanamo right now, all right?
Yeah.
You still there?
Yeah. I thought you had more to go.
Right.
I don't really have anything to add to that.
Well, yeah. Well, just the stalking. Like I know, I was followed around. And there was this other guy in this red pickup truck that followed me around, and he gave me a pen to this church that I assume he frequents, and everything, And that guy seemed more local, but the other guy, like the one that was put in jail with me because I played chess with this dude, and he's like trying to give me advice and everything, and maybe it's good advice or not, but I'm just being me here. And he's like, you talk too much, and I remember those interactions with him. I do vaguely remember him in jail, and he handled that like really good. Like he was cool and calm about it. Like, hey, I'm just in here for a couple weeks, just check some guy out. Like he was like he's done this before. Like, oh, well, this is why I get paid the big bucks. And so I really think he was in jail with me to just run into me at that gas station. They must have known that I was leaving the house. And yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, that is strange and coincidental or whatever, but yeah, I
think her name was Sharon Turner.
Yeah, I don't normally assume people are, following me or whatever in those type of situations. Like the woman saying that you're strong with the force. I usually chalk that up to people are fucking weirdos. But like the guy that came up to you and, told, hey, I remember when we were in jail and all that shit, that's kind of fucking on the nose type of shit. I would be suspicious about that type of shit, people telling me information about myself, and I'm like, wait, what? Like one time I was in a bar with some friends and some chick just walks up to me and she's like, hey, you're so-and-so and blah, 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 and starts telling me the story about me, and I'm just like, everything you're saying is true, but I don't want you to know. Why the fuck do you know, bitch? So yeah. It's, I don't know, information travels, so it's fucking.
Well, I look, I'm sure like I was poking the NSA, machine in the eye, and I definitely got followed around for a little bit at least. I don't know, how the extent to it. I think it was federal and with some local involved, but that's just like, I don't know how I even go about trying to figure out if that did happen or not. But a similar experience happened, and it's like a spidey sense almost. And this dude, I think, lucked out because I totally ADHD'd myself out of information. But I started noticing, like, back in December that there was, like, vehicles entering my parking lot and just driving to the other end, and just, like, leaving, just to kind of, like, entering and leaving. And that happens sometimes just because of the weird, area that I live in. But it was happening at a higher frequency. And I was like starting to collect plates of cars I wasn't familiar with, and then I collected 2, maybe 3 plates, and well, I at least like read it out, in my head, and I was like remembering it, and then I go inside, and then I start goofing around, and then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh shit, I was supposed to write that license plate down. What was that? And I'm like, oh shit, I forgot. So the dude kind of lucked out, and I know it's flimsy, but like I was talking to a neighbor's guest, and about mid to late December, probably 2/3 of the way through December. Anyway, and he's telling me that there was like some dudes trying to get into my place. Like one was trying to open the door, and the other, and they both were looking for some chick. And he was just curious about it, really, and I didn't really think of anything of it until I did, like a few moments later. I'm like, oh shit, I think this is related to some of the drama that I'm going through with the sex club, because that's a popular technique to, harass people online, is send someone to their house, make a fake profile, get a picture of a hot woman, make some dude believe it's you, and then give out my address as yours, and send people this way.
Yeah. But that's some fucking tactics right there. Jesus. Holy fuck.
Yeah, right? And whether it's Dick or not, that the owner of Voodoo Leatherworks, I really don't think it's Dick. He wouldn't be that stupid, right? Right? I mean, I know the dude is stupid, but he's not that stupid, okay? So, yeah, the people driving around the parking lot,
that seems like someone. That seems like that's going to be done by someone who has some tactical knowledge. Like, I would have never thought of doing anything like that. You told me about that the last time, that you thought that might be what's going on, and that just blew my mind, because to me, that's some shit that is so fucking devious. Like, I can see you rolling up in your parking lot looking for you, maybe hoping to see you come out of your door or whatever, but sending motherfuckers to your house through, like, weird means, like, oh, let's set up a fake profile really and do all this. That's some crazy, like, beyond fucking shit. But, you know, why? I can't see a reason why someone would be doing that unless they were there to see the previous owner of your apartment or whatever.
Well, no, you know what I think it is? It's this dude that's following me around, that he goes by the handle Silk and Cecil. You know, and he's like started off harassing me on FetLife, and then to which he's obviously not. He was, to me, obviously not trying to have a good conversation. He was just throwing shit. Essentially, he was taking a shit in his hand and throwing it. That's why I'm like, dude, I'm not into scat, man. You know, but if you are, that's cool. You know, because that's essentially what he was doing to me. So I block him immediately there. He followed me over to Twitter like a day or two later, or maybe later on that day. I don't quite remember the order or the time, but you know, I blocked him on my Twitter eventually, because he's just not, you know, he's not looking for an honest conversation. He's trying to gaslight me, and I could tell this already. And then he follows me over to my YouTube, to which he you know, he takes everything out of context, you know, and he doesn't explain himself ever. Like, you know, like, I'm very detailed when I go in, like here's my grievance or grievances, you know, here's the order in which it happened. I'm like very detailed.
Oh yeah.
And still this Voodoo Leatherworks is like, well, yeah, you make fun of sexual assault victims. Yeah, could you go into some details? There's no recourse. There's no talking about this. You just ban me straight up. Like, you know, yeah, and that's another thing, you know, like, I'm willing to have a conversation and they're not, which is making them look like children. They're making themselves look like children. And I think I'm adulting, but who the fuck knows? You know, I'm told by the Silk and Cecil dude and other people that I'm a child.
See, that's the thing. Most people aren't fucking adults and don't have adult behaviors. They're fully grown, but that doesn't make them a fucking adult. You know, I mean, I'm immature on some levels in some ways, but compared to most of the people I grew up with, they're fucking children. You know what I mean? Like, they're like babies and shit. Like I remember having conversations with them like, all you do is work, man, and all you do is take care of your family and your kid. And I'm like, and that's a bad fucking thing, you know what I mean? And then fucking 10 years later, they got like 6 kids and have moved like 19 fucking times, and they like, you know, they got like 6 bags of garbage sitting by their back door, and it's like, hey, you guys fucking call me fucking, you know, like, childish for wanting to fucking do shit, you know? I don't know, it's just fucks me up.
Oh, those bags by the back door remind me of the trap houses that I, you know, used to live in. Oh my god.
I mean, that's basically who all my friends were, you know, they were those guys. I can't lie and say I didn't have a trap house myself, but it wasn't trap house like, because I had a girl who lived with me and we had a kid, so I had to keep it somewhat presentable, a little bit more upscale, I guess. I had to spend some of that money that I was making back onto our shit, you know? So,
yeah.
I was an upper middle man, if that makes sense. I don't know if you know any kind of stuff.
So you had your own space and everything. Right. Man, I was in this trap house without a door to my door. Like, it was just like people could just walk in. There was this one chick that had like a trap kid house and everything.
If it's got doors.
I had a blanket sheet kind of like tacked across the doorway to kind of give me some privacy, and I was like, you know, try to masturbate sometimes, you know, and I'm like masturbating, and then the kid is like coming in my room like, hey Chris, and he's like sticking his head in, and it's like, oh my god, no. I'm just trying to have a moment with myself. Oh my god,
get the fuck out. I told you not. No, I did, but your curtain doesn't have any sound. It's just a sheet.
You know, I made sure because I was aware that people could just stick their head in. So like, you know, I was behind the
Back
desk
to the door
and I had
or whatever.
fabric. I had fabric draped over, you know, the other end of the desk, you know, to kind of give me some privacy so people wouldn't see my lap or whatever, you know. But still, it was just like being in that situation. It's like, all right, I'm kind of in the mood. All right, I got my headset on. I'm watching some porn. All right, you know, and then like, you know, like, did I just hear a kid's voice? Hang on a second. Let me move the headset. And it's like, and then he moves, and then naturally the kid moves in further into my room, you know, and it's like, oh shit.
No,
you know,
get the fuck out.
You could quickly, you could quickly hide your junk and everything. So it's like, all right, so yeah, hey kid, what's up? You know, I'm just, you know, working on a video game here or something, you know.
Oh, a video game. Let me see it.
Yeah,
Fuck no.
Right? You know, then it's like, oh no. Yeah, it's like, no, go get your mom, right? You know, and I'll be out in a second, you know, and it's like, yeah.
It's grandma's baseball, and he's like,
no.
oh, it's that game. Fuck that game.
Like, that wasn't as annoying as the fucking, like, the meth head people. Like, dude, this one dude left his baby. He's like, I'm just going to be gone like a half hour. And the guy was gone for like 3 days. And he left his baby at our place where my friend Misty gladly took care of the baby. But like, it's like, what the fuck? You know, like, you just left your kid at a house pretty much with a bunch of strangers. Although, like, you know, he's like, everybody's my friend or some shit like that. And it's like, dude, take care of your kid. What the fuck is wrong with you?
That's a tactic. I've seen that before. I've watched that happen when I was young. I was probably like 8 or maybe 10 years old or something, and I saw that shit happening. And my mom immediately caught what was going on. No, you're not leaving your kid here. I'm not ended up babysitting your kid, because that's happened to her before. And you know, she called this chick out like, hey, bitch, like, you come get your kid and take him with you. I don't care how desperate you are in your situation. You need to take care of your kid first. That was one great thing about my mom. She did always make sure we had a roof over our head. And if my stepdad was being psycho, she took us somewhere safe, you know, whether it be my grandparents' house or, you know, like a dove shelter when I was young enough to be there or whatever, you know. But she only ever dropped us off once at some place that you know, like in the middle of the evening, but it was to like my oldest sister's best friend's house, and I played with her younger brother at, I can't remember if it was like daycare or Sunday school or somewhere. So I knew him. We knew him well. So it wasn't like some random fucking house in the hood, you know what I mean? It was like people we knew. So that was where I first saw Santa Claus the movie. But anyway, besides all that,
what kind of movie?
Santa Claus the movie. It was
Santa Claus.
It's a really good one. But anyways, she was really good about making sure that we were all accounted for and that we all had clean clothes and, you know, a bed to sleep in and whatnot. And I mean, we were all rowdy little bastards throwing shit at each other and at the house, but as long as we were presentable in public.
He hit me. No, he hit me first.
Yeah, it went like that all the goddamn time. But as long as we were presentable in public and well mannered and had our shit together, it was good. You know what I'm saying? And that was one part of growing up that you really have to have that kind of structure. And I'm glad that my kid's mom was, I mean, a lot better than my mom was, but that was one of the major things that she really stuck to was, you know, fucking being accountable and be actually fucking paying the fuck attention to what the fuck's going on and where your kid's at and what they're doing. And you may not actually be there at some points, you know, your kid stays at their friend's house or goes on a field trip, but you at least fucking understand what's going on, who their parents are, emergency numbers, contacts and bullshit. You know what I mean? Like that. So I don't know. I can't imagine a parent just, it feels like abandoning a child if you know what I mean? That is straight up abandonment, I think.
Well, yeah. Like, I mean, like, look, I gotta go to a grocery store. I don't know what the dude said, and I'm actually thinking about it now. I think I bookmarked news article like about this person.
Yeah, that's one thing. They're gone for an hour or two
the...
and come back. No big deal. 3 days? Fuck you, man. What the fuck's your deal? You know? He'd have got punched in the face, for real. What's that?
I mean, meth was the deal, I think, you know, like it. And I mean, I had a house, I was renting a house that I just took over from a meth head that offered me a room. And then she was not using my money to pay the rent. So then, like, I was communicating with the landlord behind her back. And I'm like, look, I'm going to pay you my share directly, you know, because I can't trust her. Because it like happened early off in November.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay you my share directly. Yeah. I went through something similar like that. So check this out. There were 6 of us guys living on 2 floors, the bottom floor and the basement. And basically, I had my room was sheets that were tacked up to the floor runners. You know. So I was paying like $100 a month or whatever. And so I think, that's what it was. There were 6 of us and our rent was $600. So the day rent's due, my buddy comes up. He's like, dude, I can't fucking find the money. I think someone stole it. And we did have a party the night before and we had a kid that stayed the night and he was not there when we got up. Like when dude woke up. So we just suspected, well, it must have been dude. He must have fucking rifled through your drawers and fucking took off with it. And then we realized, well, there's no fucking way he could have done it because this guy is meticulous about locking his door. His door is locked. When he's outside of his door, it's locked with a padlock. Not a combo lock, a fucking padlock. And then when he's inside of it, because we've actually locked him in his door with a spoon, just fucking with him. You know? Oh, you like being locked in, huh? And so, and on the inside, he had a chain and a fucking, like it was a apartment building, but it was like sectioned off weird because it was like an old fucking, like an old historical house, like a Victorian house. But they turned it into like 3 or 4 apartments, but then they segmented it off just into top floor and bottom, like, the top 2 floors is one apartment and the bottom 2 floors is the other apartment. But it still had its old apartment door locks on it. So he had like the deadbolt and all the fucking slide lock and all that shit.
So you had like 3 or 4 locks or
something? Yeah. And I'm like, how the fuck did dude in the middle of the night get in your fucking room when you lock your fucking door behind you when you go in it? Because he's paranoid as fuck. And then when you come out of your room, the door's locked. So I eventually figured out, dude just fucking got us for our rent money. He probably just spent it on whatever, you know, trying to come up, whatever. And so, we all had to fucking scrape our pockets and go ask everybody we knew if we didn't have the money on us to fucking, because we were all pretty much broke selling fucking weed out of our fucking old dilapidated ass fucking apartment. And fucking a lot of us were barely scraping by. Some of us had like minimum wage job where we worked like 10 or 20 hours a week and it just wasn't enough to party every day and afford to fucking have double our rent, you know what I mean? And so we all scrounged up the $600 and paid the rent, but then like within the month I had figured that out and we had a lot of arguments shortly after that and I ended up moving out over some other bullshit. But it's just like, how do people are fucking that conniving and manipulative, and I don't know. It's just crazy that he's the guy you're talking about. What's his name? Dick. He's one of those guys that will fucking. He's one of those guys that has probably done shit like that to his friends. You know what I'm saying? Like some. Just straight
I don't know
devious.
The dude's background, but maybe.
I'm not saying that he's done that exact thing, but something in that similar vein, because that's the type of people who do that shit, you know?
Well, he's reformed now, you know, because he's done 20 years in the military, so, you know, I don't know.
I feel like that's trained into motherfuckers to fucking do shit like that.
But I feel really abused, you know, and that's why I'm allowed to say you're being abusive. And I don't know, like maybe it's a stretch to say it's predatory, But I feel that the horse boy, the other violator, the teacher of that BDSM class, where he flipped off on me for saying stupid, and that's what I thought this whole thing was about. And the reason why the making fun of sexual assault victims doesn't make sense to me is because it never happened. Like, I can recall almost that whole day there, and I that never even got close. He said that at court that I spoke ill of Tessa, which is like some abuse, targeted towards women, but I guess it could be for men too. And I had an experience with them when I got out of jail, because I was like homeless and shit. And I forget the details. I forget exactly why I went there. Maybe I went there for whatever I went there for. I felt disappointed afterwards. That's the only thing I remember. Just feeling disappointed, feeling left alone, feeling abandoned. It's like, look, I just got abused by a couple, and I mean, the dude attacked me, and I don't know, like, I mean, I was a little rude to the cops. Maybe that's why, I got, sent away after being attacked. That shouldn't be a thing in America, though. Like, people be rude to me at jobs where I have to, like, still be nice to them and shit,
Yeah, I know totally about being rude to a cop and going to jail for it. So, me and my buddy, we were being hassled by cops, and he said, "Why you got to be a dick?" And it was over. We were both going to jail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, well, I mean,
you never do
ego, man.
You never do that. Why you got to be a dick about it? Oh, you're resisting. Give me your hands. Like, you're under arrest. What the fuck did I do? Your friend said you should have better friends. What the fuck? Whatever. I got out.
Yeah, that's some petty bullshit that they definitely do. But I can't, like, I'm pissy with cops because I've had such horrible treatment by them. Like in that audio of me getting attacked, you hear my family attacking me, and there's not no break in the audio, and you hear the cops that they called, that they prevented me from calling, as they're laying on top of me in the rapist position, and I'm asking them to call, but I got to go through some more trauma before that. Anyway, the cops show up and they don't do anything for me, but they reassure me that I'm not going to go to jail. Oh, well, how very fucking kind of you. I know my middle finger and I call cops pigs and everything. That's super duper rude. But unlike not helping like a victim of actual domestic violence or assault, and kidnapping, because he dragged me across the kitchen floor. So, I don't know, and I had that experience, I had that like George Floyd. Remember, I can't breathe.
Right.
And but there was plenty of people before George Floyd. There was Eric Gardner in New York. But like, I had that experience too myself. You could hear me try to scream, "I can't breathe," in that audio recording in like the first minute or two. I don't really listen to these things after the fact. I just kind of like, I have that dude that pulled the gun on me. I have that footage from a few months ago on my YouTube. I have not looked at that once since. I mean, I have it uploaded. It has like 12 or 2 views or whatever. Some people have checked it out, but I have not seen it. I don't know if you could see the suspect in it or not. I haven't tried any brightness settings or anything like that. That's the information I provided to the police, and then I just provided it to my YouTube. But yeah, I normally don't listen to these things afterwards, because you know what? I lived through it, so I don't want to really, even though I talk about it a lot. But the only reason why I talk about it a lot, so people can know me, get to know me, or use it against me, I guess. That's not really the purpose, but whatever you want to do with the information.
It's one thing to vent about it, and it's a whole nother thing to relive it. So.
Yeah, I don't want to relive it. So. But yeah, anyway, I forget the point I was trying to make, but court was just very interesting. I can't wait to get the transcripts so I could like prove these things, because he was bringing up my mental illness as it makes me a bad person, and it's like, dude, don't you run a sex club that like fucking like we have a very safe environment and we're very understanding people, but you know, like, oh, you got mental illness? Oh, fucking bad. This fucking dude wants to run for president, and he's protesting outside my sex club. You know, and like, he has mental health issues. You know, so you mean to tell me that all those people that go to Voodoo, all your members, all your staff, don't have mental health issues from, you know, maybe past abusive relationships or past abuse and trauma they went through?
Or just really any kind of life trauma, because that's what life is traumatic as fuck from day one to.
He cares a lot about abuse victims. That's why he uses mental health issues against them.
Yeah, that's, to me, that's just, I don't know. The whole point of like a fetish club to me is to go there and kind of not really get out your frustrations, but, you know, like to vent to a like-minded crowd, I guess, or, you know, individuals in like, that crowd. Or I
wanted
to
connect with some people,
right.
Maybe not just like have sex with them. I probably would not have had sex. I probably would have hung out at the sex parties. Maybe if I got really hot and bothered, I would have maybe masturbated at most. But like, it takes, like, for me to actually like have sex with someone, I need to establish some level of trust, which is like usually the first tier. You know,
from what I hear, that's pretty goddamn normal. So that makes sense. I mean, not everybody.
Well, I mean, I do have
casual sex every other day type of person. For the most part,
there
everybody
are people
I
like
know.
That, though.
Well, yeah, I know people both ways, but I'm just saying, out of the, say, I know 1,000 people, like maybe 50 of them are casual sex type people, and everybody else is like basically monogamous. Maybe they may be single, but when they're in a relationship, they're monogamous, you know.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Yeah, well, yeah, when they're just dating around, you know, and they're just trying out, you know, who they want.
Yeah, that's one thing,
time.
Right? But that's one thing. But yeah, most people aren't like, well, I'm just gonna go fuck around with 9 different fuck buddies this week, you know. But I'm not saying that's bad.
What, like,
or I care.
I was going to connect with some
like
people, you know, maybe not the teacher at this BDSM class, but like I was going to try to connect with some people, and I probably may have been more outgoing at sex parties, you know, where I would, you know, like be more confident and willing after, you know, we break my shyness, timid, you know, shell.
Yeah, you kind of got to warm up.
That wasn't even allowed. I wasn't even allowed, and then I wasn't even allowed to be heard, and then there's no fucking appeal or like discussion or anything. It's just like, oh, you're banned, you're a horrible person, you have a misdemeanor on your record, which we all know when you go through abuse and abusive relationships, nobody ever fucking gets like wrongfully charged and convicted, you know, or pleading because they just got to get out of jail and they got to get back to their kids or whatever, or their job. Nobody's ever, you know, have a false record. We all know this, right?
Or,
you know, so it's just like the dude, like, I'm going to make him eat his words is all that. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, or even if it was a legit thing, like when I was a kid, I might have been 17. No, actually I was 15 when this happened. I was 16. Yeah, I was 16. It was a Saturday. The first Saturday after school was out, and it was 7 a.m. and I'd stayed up playing video games, probably stayed up till like 2 or 3 in the morning and fell asleep on the couch. And I usually slept till 9 or 10 on the weekends and then get up and go hang out with friends or whatever. But my mom had mentioned previously, hey, you're going to go look for a job this Saturday. All right, I'll fucking go look for a job when I get up. So I woke up to getting literally fucking kicked as hard as someone could be kicked right in the tailbone. And
oh, wow.
With some like hard ass fucking, like, not really wooden clogs, but it felt like it was like one of those hard fucking, I don't know what fucking women.
What, did they use their boot? Did she use her boot or something?
No, she has these like rigid looking, like, they're not, I don't know what the fuck they are. There's some kind of hard ass leather type shoes with like a square toe to them, and they're all cinched up.
Like witches' shoes.
Yeah, basically that's exactly what they are. And she fucking kicked me square in the anus, basically, and fucking. My reaction was to reach up and grab the fucking empty coffee mug and just throw it. and it hit the window.
Yeah, what the fuck?
10 feet away from her, it hit the window and shattered her window. And she called the cops, and I went to fucking jail, and I got threatened by fucking... I got threatened by the guy that was putting me in my cell. He said, if I was your dad, I would have hung your ass with a fucking extension cord. And I was just like,
oh my God.
Okay, sure. You should be around kids, fucking asshole.
Well, I mean, he is just saying that to be like in jail. It brings out the worst in people.
Oh yeah,
I don't.
Here's the thing.
He's just like stay away from me. Don't talk to me. I don't fucking like you. I'm going to say something really hurtful that I hope fucking resonates for years. And you're repeating this.
Oh
years
yeah,
later,
yeah. This
so
is
really
this is
resonate,
40, 30, 26 years later. So anyway, he said that, and what's funny is he thought it was intimidating, and I laughed, and he got pissed off and sent me in my cell and had me locked down because I laughed at him. Reason why is because he tried to intimidate me, but he doesn't know that my stepdad is twice his size and probably 100 times more psychotic, and I'd been dealing with that for, a decade and a half by that point. So
yeah, so he was just
like, you're a nobody. You're a fucking flea on a dog to me, dude. You're nobody, So, and that got him pissed.
Well, that was a little bit of solace I had going through this. It's like I've been through worse shit.
Oh yeah, it's almost like, well, anyways, what I was getting at is that is like, I got a misdemeanor for that, and it was because I woke up to being physically abused, and I didn't I didn't throw the mug directly at my mom like with the intention of hitting her. I just was like, God damn, what the just out of just fucking what the fuck is going on, out of anger and frustration and pain.
First few
and
moments you awake, you're not really.
I didn't know what. I thought I was being
yet.
attacked and fucking. I don't know what the fuck was happening. I've been sexually molested and raped by my stepdad, probably 8 or so years before that, and so I was, I might have at that point in time thought that's what was going on. But anyways, my point is I threw that mug, broke that window, and it was like literally when she showed the cop where she was standing and then where the mug hit, you could tell that it was definitely, she's like across the fucking room from where I, threw it. But she cried and freaked out so badly and basically gaslit the whole entire situation as if I just attacked her out of my sleep. I was just gonna go sit down on the couch next to him and watch some TV, and then he just threw a mug at my face, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I had that, and so I sent you that picture of the wreck that I was involved in, and when I went to the deposition for that, they literally that was in there, and I'm just like, dude, I was 17. Is that even legal? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you even? Yeah. Or actually, I went to court until I was 17.
Digging in your
once you're 17,
to discredit what's happening now
in Illinois, when you're 17, you're an adult, and so that's on your legal record here, and it's bullshit. But regardless of that, you could
get it sealed, though. I think
I could have, but I don't do shit, so there's no reason to get, I'm not getting in trouble for shit.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my 2012 bullshit. It's like, okay, whatever, I'll just like leave that there. I could have it sealed, but it's like whatever, you guys got me when, with some bullshit on this record, and now I know not to take any deals ever, no matter what.
Yeah, like you said,
next time I'm falsely accused. Yeah,
it was like going through a defamation case, and after about 10 different mentions of shit, because I'm not gonna lie, when I was a kid, I had run-ins with the law all the time. I grew up in an area where they have this thing called neutral officers that just are basically off-duty officers that just ride around for a couple hours in the evening before the parks close, and small neighborhoods that have like,
Were you smoking in a park? Oh my God.
We were literally standing in a circle.
He caused this accident. He was smoking in a park 20 years ago, Your Honor.
Dude, they went through so much fucking shit, and it was just ridiculous. By the time they were done going through, like, the first 10 of them, I was just like, whatever, sure, because they would read off like the date and time and then the charges and all this shit, and they were like, do you remember doing this? No, I started off with, not really. It was like 20 fucking something years, 25 years ago, dude. I don't remember all the bullshit I remember the traumatic shit that happened to me, but I don't remember the innocuous bullshit I was blamed for that wasn't really involved in or wasn't doing anything wrong. You know, I'll admit to everything I did, but all that shit's bullshit. And by the 10th one, I was just like, sure, whatever. And then by the 15th one, there was probably like 30 of them altogether. They were all misdemeanors. I've never had a felony. Anyway, and most of them were because I was
on this?
It didn't get that far. But anyways, so the lawyer's asking me if all this shit has happened, and by the halfway point, I was like, you know what? You can just read them all off and just assume that I'm going to agree that I did it, because at this point, it doesn't matter, because all you're trying to do is make me look like a bad person. And what happened not because of my past. It was because of inopportunity. You know what I mean? I started the turn and stopped. She thought I was going to continue the turn, so she obviously thought her kids were in danger, so she felt that if the front of her car hit the front of my car, it would be less damaging than if I hit the side of their car and hurt her kid. And I get that. That logic makes sense. She didn't think of that in that split second, because I didn't have time to fucking think about fucking, doing whatever I had to do. It was just basically just hit the brake and it was over. You know what I mean? By the time I touched the brake, I might not even have hit the brake till after the collision. You know what I mean? But so much shit was lied about in that entire story, and I corrected them that before the she walked out of the courtroom crying after she said what she had to say, because I'm pretty sure she was coached by her her attorneys or whatever to break out and cry at the end of this, like culminate everything you got to fucking cry at the end of this, because there was nothing to cry about. You know what I'm saying? All of her bills had been paid. She got a brand new car out of it, and like life was fine for her.
Insurance?
What's that?
Did insurance cover you, man?
My insurance paid for everything for her, and then they dropped me. So
they didn't. Oh, you were found at fault?
Technically, I admitted to being somewhat at fault because I said I started to turn, but she admitted to going 45 and a 30, and I told them if she had been going the same speed as because the two cars in front of her, I waited for, because they were going 30 and a 30, and I could judge that timing. Well, at this point, there's a hill that goes down, and then it comes up real fast right over where the railroad tracks, because they had to build it up to make the
and if you're speeding,
smooth.
like
this
that's
bitch
really
came up over
fault.
that
that's
hump,
so fucked up.
And I just saw the front of her car, and I jammed on the brakes, and boom, you know what I mean? And I maybe in that split second she realized, oh fuck, there's a car coming, and did turn toward me to whatever she fucking thinks or whatever. But also, she admitted she was going, half over this speed limit. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
So basically, as soon as she walked out crying out of the room, they were like, you know what? This is some fucking malarkey. Fuck this shit. We're throwing it out. She's been paid off. She got everything she wanted out of this previously. She's just trying to add on. And it's fucking over. And I literally had like a breakdown, because I've been going through that for like months and months, just fretting. Oh my God, I'm going to owe someone 150 grand. I make like 30,000, 35,000 a year at that point.
Yeah. That must have been stressful, and it was a little like I had my good moments and I had my bad moments, where I'm just kind of like, called up underneath a blanket or my comforter, and I'm just like in the fetal position crying. Yeah. And then there's other times where I'm just kind of dancing around and listening to music and jamming. You know, I try not to.
Or other times where I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm not taking no bullshit. And I'm going to get my fucking way out here in the world because I'm sick and fucking tired of people running over me or the people I love, you know, that type of shit.
Yeah, that's sort of like, you know, that's kind of like the tipping point here. Like, I kind of like, as devastating as it is to me, I'm like, man, fuck you. And I think my reactions to all of this, like, because I'm just kind of reacting at this point ever since November 14th. Like the protest, like, you're just going to do me wrong, not allowed a discussion. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe you could make me remember what I did that was so offensive, and I could be like, oh shit, that was a little offensive, my bad. There's none of that, you know. So you leave me no choice but to protest you, you know. So then I do that, and then they realize that I'm doing that, and then they're like, oh shit, it's a little bit of a risk, but see, this guy, you know, he's a little bit mentally damaged, and there's some shit from, you know, from his past that we could dig up, you know, and let's, you know, run with the violence and the stalking thing. And but now you look like even bigger douchebags because you couldn't even fucking make the case that, you know, that I am a legitimate threat, you know, because I am just protesting you, and to remind everyone I'm not into guns at all. So, you know, maybe that's some other person, but you know, I always think whenever there's like a mass shooting in America that really makes the headlines, you know, that I catch wind of, you know, I'm like, man, I should probably be getting a bulletproof vest or something, you know, because I live in America. You know, I don't think about getting a gun, right, like to defend myself. I think about getting a bulletproof vest to defend myself.
Do they make,
you know,
Kevlar
and hopefully
helmets?
It's not a headshot.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
you know,
do they make Kevlar helmets? Yeah, it's,
you know, yeah. If you ever see me walk around, I'll make it look like a bike helmet, but it'll really be like armor, and I'll just look like a crazy person or something.
That guy's walking around with a grocery bag and a bike helmet. What the fuck's going on over there? Is he in a vest?
Speaking of looking like a crazy person, I want to get a cardboard cutout of this dude because I'm like really into like the First Amendment and everything. So I was going to get a cardboard cutout of this guy, and because his name, like, you know, well, you know, I maybe for YouTube it's a little too hot. So, but the name I'm going to have for the cardboard cutout is Rosie Palmer. So I was going to do that. And then I could probably accompany Rosie with her 5 sisters, actually. But they'll just be face cutouts, if anything, because I can't handle, like, more than one cardboard cutout of, like actual human size and everything, all right?
Right.
You know, so, but I could go around and I could dance because I think our love song is that song, the I've Had the Time of My Life, that was in Dirty Dancing, and I got a portable speaker so I could play that, and then I could act like, be like Rosie, it's our song, you know, and I could get all excited, you know, and then I could stand Rosie up, and then we could have our little dance, and I could hold her above my head and everything, you know. I was thinking of having, you know, fun like that at my protest. And I got the shaming bell, of course, you know. Yeah, I got a few things in the works.
I haven't really checked out your channel lately here. I've been fucking insanely busy, but have you been uploading any video of any of the protests or anything like that recently, or do you plan on doing that?
No. Well, okay, so the thing about that, all right, is I'm still trying to determine. I've only had 2 protests so far, you know, and like I barely got started, dick. You know, but so upon the first one, it's like, okay, my recorder could only go for like a couple hours. My video recorder, right, which is not enough time to go from start to end. So you got to make cuts. So what I was thinking is that just when I notice somebody get near me, or, you know, I would activate it while the audio recorder will go, you know, the entire time. But the first one was just kind of showing, you know, like, yeah, here's what I'm doing. The second time I protested, I didn't really activate, like I activated the camera and I just kind of kept it hidden for a little bit. There was this elder couple that kind of drove past me before anyone showed up at the business that I was protesting. And they just kind of gave a friendly wave, you know. It was this elderly couple, the wife and the passenger seat, and she was reading out loud the signs to her husband, and then they just gave me a friendly wave afterwards. They were in a red SUV, and that's all I know. And I just kind of, that was the only video that I had. I know I had those couple interactions that one night. Oh yeah, he was saying that I was directing traffic. I didn't release the third one just to keep them guessing what was in it, but he said that I was like directing traffic, and it's like someone drove kind of like up to me and they asked like, "Hey, where's Voodoo Leatherworks?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's right over there." And then I kind of bitched at them a little bit, which being friends with the owner that's abusing me and I'm bitching about them surely makes for an awkward conversation.
Right.
And I used the F word a few times. But like he was making it seem like I was preventing her from driving away, and it's like she could have drove away. Sorry about the awkward conversation. That was the most awkward conversation of the 4 interactions that I had. And I'll release it eventually. Actually, now since you mentioned it, that's the only thing really that I got. As for the recording, I'm just going to have to limit, because the power lasts so long, and I could extend the power actually. Which I might end up doing, because I got now that I'm thinking, I got a portable like power bank.
Yeah, those things are awesome. You got to get you got to get one with a solar panel on the back of it.
Oh yeah, so it takes like 6 days to charge.
No, dude, check this out. You can charge it regularly, and then when you're not going to use it for a couple of days, just throw it on near a window or something. And boom, when you come back to
when I'm done with my protest, kind of throw it up in the window,
Yeah, and then a couple days later, when you really need it again, it's there. And if you really need it in like an hour, you just plug it in. It's fucking awesome.
Well, yeah,
they're like $10.
I got all these. Yeah. Man, I don't even know if I have $10.
No, I'm not saying you should get one because you got a power bank. I'm just saying for everybody out there that doesn't have one of those already, look for one of those because they're
like $10-$20 depending on where you go to buy it.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. Ugh. Sorry, I'm stretching. Well,
yeah, you're all good.
I think.
Well, let me wrap the thing up. Now I'm stonering out. What were you going to say? Here?
I was going to say that we should wrap it up real soon. My girlfriend's going to be home any second, but if you had another point to make, go right on ahead. We got a few minutes.
Well, fuck. I just, I was happy with the results. Obviously, I could probably assume that the dude is not happy with the results. But you brought this on yourself, like the protesting, and I'm being all peaceful about it. He tried making it seem like me covertly recording. Okay, I told you about that the day after when I was protesting I probably got sidetracked, but when I went to the courthouse, I wasn't protesting, but I had that sign that said, "Help me out with the defamation suit." I had one weird interaction, which I think is an associate, kind of connected to Dick. One weird interaction, and he was almost trying to get me to say punch them in the face, and it was just a really strange interaction. And then I had the cars driving through my parking lot, and then I learned that the dude does military intel, and then it clicks. It's like, that's I had those 2 weird interactions. As for the third weird non-interaction, because I just learned that they were trying to one of them was trying to access the inside of my place. The other one was just knocking. But I had 2 people sent to my house. I think that was not connected to Dick. But he's a fan of Voodoo Leatherworks.
How again did they get your address?
Not sent by Dick. Oh, it's so easy right now to find my address. All you need is my full name, and you'll be able to find it with ease.
I was going to say, because that is I don't really know how hard it is or easy it is to find someone's address other than maybe looking in a phone book. That tells you how
If it takes more than 60 seconds to find where I live, then you suck at looking stuff up.
I've just never really looked up anybody because I really don't care about that many people. So I don't know. But just
you ever Google yourself out?
Not really.
Like to see what people can find about you?
No, I'm usually Googling like people in my family, like my grandpa and shit like that. Like when I'm getting like sentimental and want to look up all his accomplishments and shit, just to kind of, I don't know, reminisce on all the stories he used to tell me and whatnot. I would look up my grandpa, but that's about it. But he was the only real like positive influence I had. So
yeah, I do that with my father. You know, just like this was like, you know, he died in 2004, so there wasn't as much stuff, even like from like 2008, from 2004. Like, you know, there's not a huge presence, but he could be found in a few places online.
Yeah. Well, we were on the upswing and now on the sadder note.
Well, no. Actually, could you take a few minutes? Talk about that some fat GI. You know, like if you want to try doing something together with some fat guy, maybe that name of a show that I mentioned to you that we should probably keep under wraps right now.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of something that's a little sweeter than that, but I like the whole concept of it for sure.
Yeah. Along those lines, like as long as we can get that, you know, phrase kind of, you know, crystallized there, right, and maybe a different phrase.
Well, something using those words, but like in a way that, you know, conveys the message more in a more concise but shorter way somehow. I don't know. We can work on it.
Well, okay, and then I totally had OBS confused because OBS is the free version and XSplit is like the one that I think they have like a free version, and then there's a like monthly subscription, or I'm totally, maybe there's a third software, but I thought there was a thing for like $7, $8 a month.
I think XSplit and OBS are both free, if I remember, but you can like upgrade to like a pro version.
Yeah, a version that will crash less or some shit like that. Like, you know,
I think
for like a little bit more money.
I think I had XSplit on my computer, and because I was gonna try to do streaming, but it like bogged my computer down so badly that my computer's.
I'll be able to stream. Like I want to learn this stuff myself too, so I should probably be doing that this month while I'm, you know, packing up things and moving, and maybe learning that. And maybe some fat guy could. You know, carry us for a little bit so we could do it ourselves. I don't mind doing it on my end. I'm pretty, you know, familiar with computers.
Yeah, I learned pretty quickly.
Is a gaming machine here.
Haven't really had the opportunity to do it. Like I said, I've done a Zoom meeting, but it was just me just watching a seminar where, you know, some bullshit.
And I could easily broadcast right now, although I won't have, it would just be like what is appearing on my screen, so like people could Skype into me, and I don't know how Skype, it probably could do multiple video calls. I think I've seen that before. So, you know, and however Skype sets it up, that will be at least the, you know, the way that I could quickly do it right now, because streaming my video gaming is very easy, and all I need to do is not play video games and just open up chats and whatever. People see my desktop and the mess of files or whatever on it. What if I ever like switch windows or something, like whatever, you know? But so I could kind of do that, but until I learn
something, maybe, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, until I get the OBS thing, like right now, it looks like I need to really stick. It looks like I'm broke right now, and it's only the 4th of the month. And I really need to save for this moving, and then I have these massive fees that I gotta pay, and and just
you can just work on learning how to do it and not actually upload anything. And by the time you get moved and situated in your new place, you'll come up with something. You'll have more. You'll have a lot more space to deal with that anyway.
Well, and did you want to join in with some fat guy maybe too?
Oh yeah. I have no problems. I have no problems with that. I gotta learn how to do all this shit myself. I've never even Skyped before. Never even used FaceTime and shit.
Well, FaceTime I think is like.
I know. I'm just saying. I was just saying, like I've had an iPhone for 10 years and I've never even used FaceTime. That's how fucking I don't use that type of shit.
Well, yeah, same here. You know, like I've never used it either. Although I one of the, I was mentioning that dude that threw the cat across my room. Like he had a girlfriend and a kid and everything, and it was supposed to be a monogamous relationship. But then he would like be sleeping with the boss's daughter and all these other different women. Like he was a player like that because he looked good, so you could do that, right? No, good. She probably, I don't know if the girlfriend found out or not, but like, you know, 90% chance she forgave him. It's like some high number like that. Like, you know, the person that is cheated on, like 90% chance they'll forgive the cheater.
I was trying to come up with a phrase that was dirty that involved pussy, but everything I think of is lame, so I'm just gonna not say it. Like he doesn't. Well, he definitely. He honestly doesn't know how to treat a pussy, you know, or something. Throwing pussy around or something. I don't know, but like I said, I can't.
Well, his actions are fine. It's just that he's in this monogamous relationship with this other person, and it's like maybe like if you can't handle that, like you maybe you should be an openly polyamorous person. Like there's an option aside from cheating.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw some comedian talking about that. It was like on a clip of something and a clip of some podcast, and she was like, I didn't realize getting back into dating there were so many like genres of types of people. I thought it was just like homosexual, heterosexual, and then like what is that? Polyamory. But then there's like 90,000 subgenres.
Pansexual, like
pansexual. There's like hundreds. She started naming them off, and I was like, man, I've never even heard of half of this shit.
I know this is why I like to keep it simple. Like there's like straight, gay, and bi, and then a lot of people tend to actually be bi because you know the pansexual and stuff like that would be kind of like the subcategory. The main category is bisexual. The subcategory would be like pansexual. You know, man, I don't even have a fat life to browse through all their selection. They're the ones that have like 50, 60 fucking things to choose from. But yeah, like, so I want to maybe get together with you know, some fat guys sometime, maybe try to get all three of us together one day. I'm going to be working on this moving and everything. And then I'm pretty broke. Man, I really wanted to work on my invention, and it's going to have to wait yet another month. And yeah, that's about it. I won the case. It feels good, you know, although I see it as, although like we're all losers in the case, I won my right to continue protesting, even though that right was taken away from me over lies. This is abusive asshole.
See, I think what's going to happen is they're going to feel like, oh, well, he went through so much shit that he's probably just going to give it up now that he won. But if I was you, I would just continue on, like, all your free time, not all your free time, but, you know, all the free time that you feel like devoting to it, you should.
I might have to wait. Like, the thing is, though, is like I wanted to, you know, show up later on today, actually, but now that I know my money situation, I don't even have like an emergency $30 or something to like get an Uber home or whatever. Like I might have to delay this till next month, you know, and just like, you know.
It's going to be spring real soon, so it's going to be warming up. I know it sucks to walk and shit. You got a bike?
Well, yeah, but no. And like I'm from like outside Chicago, man. I can handle this fucking weather like no problem. But I have the need to want to prove it to them that I'm willing to endure the cold to protest them.
Yeah, because fuck them.
But it is not necessary. Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Not
fuck
really,
them.
but at the same time,
I got other obligations.
You want to try to shut the motherfucker up preemptively? I'm going to show you what it's like to fucking do the opposite. You start. It's like I said. It's that Streisand effect. They fucking picked that wound until it started bleeding, and now they got to deal with the fucking bloody mess. You know, so.
Yeah, and then they're trying to like, you know, smear me to kind of like, you know, cover up their mess. And I'm sure the smear, like, I wonder if I'll be baited, if I'll, you know, see weird, you know, people that I suspect could be following me. I just get a weird, tingling sense, sometimes, I really call it my spider sense.
Yeah.
I use a lot of weird phrases like that, like, I'm strong with the force, and I take stuff from sci-fi movies. Even though their sequels might be shit. I was really disappointed with the new Star Wars.
It's just oversaturation in the market because we've had the same shit for my entire life, so shit starts getting old.
And they're like, let's remake all that.
Well, before we get too into something like that, I gotta get here. So it was great to talk to you.
Yeah, I could go forever.
We'll definitely get together with some fat guy and do some stuff. I'm looking forward to that. And if nothing happens, whatever. But either way, it'll be worth talking about. So we'll get up on that, and I'll see you as soon as you got more time to do this.
Yeah. Thanks, T-Rex. I appreciate you. Really, I do.
All right, you have a good one.
You too. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that sums that one up. That one went all over the place. I might be able to put some chapters on it, though, because we talked about some stuff for quite a while each little section. So anyways, thanks for listening. We both appreciate it. And make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and hit that bell notification so you see more, so you'll notice this on your feed. And then you guys have a good one. Bye-bye.